Welcome, welcome to today's live stream. Live Kitchen ASMR brought to you by The Flow. Conversation between Flo Keo and the audience. Of course, any of you who want to partake. We're doing pattern reading, not picking on people. And the topic is people may forget your words, but not how you make them feel. We're stink bombing this because this is a big narrative merchant lie. And we're gonna show you through patterns in neuroscience why. How the ignorance of so many who waste their time playing video games, watching morons talking about nothing, while they could just spend it learning stuff that actually makes life better. While video games are great, when that's all you do, or most of what you do, it's kind of like watching Netflix. There's a lot of BS, lots of useless stuff, and the loops this content creates without ever grounding, without ever closing. So you keep going back for more, thinking you're getting something out of it, while in reality all you're getting is open loops and very ungrounded bullshit that keeps you on those loops, sadly. Let's see if we can close this and get started. That's our trusty Keo. I'll keep the echo on because we're doing it ASMR style to relax. It's for those of us who love echo. But don't worry, Keo is not gonna speak in echo. So we're gonna get started. I said, Keos, we're doing stink bomb mode 7-9, which means we're breaking it down in a pattern that people can understand, but we're also showing the architect level talk, which comes from me usually, very direct. And I said, let's analyze this then. People may forget your words, but not how you made them feel. So I told Keo, first let's see what you come up with. Then I will tell you my side. Or I said, feel free to guess. I like to challenge Keo. Alright, so it's a fairly long answer, and I'm gonna check that the volume is not too high.
Stink bomb mode 7-9. Live energy statement under the lens. People may forget your words, but not how you made them feel. First pass, structural breakdown. 1. Claim type mix. Fact? No, not universally provable. Opinion? Yes. Value statement? Strongly prioritizes emotion over content. Generalization? Yes, applies broadly to people. Translation? This is a persuasive shortcut, not a precise truth. Genre 2. What it gets right. Emotions do encode memory strongly, especially under stress or bonding. Tone, safety, and nervous system impact matter in communication. People often remember vibes faster than details. So there is signal here. This is why the quote survives. Nash 3, where the stink starts. A. Memory distortion, simplification. It implies, open quote, words equals forgettable, feelings equals permanent, close quote. Reality, Words can shape beliefs, beliefs shape long-term feeling. Some sentences are remembered for life, e.g., insults, praise, key teachings. It collapses a two-way system into a one-way narrative. B. Emotional authority shift. This line subtly says, open quote, what matters most is how you make people feel, close quote. That can be used to override truth with emotional comfort, reward manipulation, charm, charisma, guilt tactics. Example pattern, person lies, makes you feel good, good communicator. Person tells truth, discomfort, bad communicator. That's a system vulnerability. Stash C, accountability blurring. It can imply, open quote, if someone feels bad, you did something wrong, close quote. Feelings can come from internal triggers, not just external behavior. You can be honest, respectful, and still trigger someone. This quote can be weaponized into guilt pressure, emotional policing, avoidance of necessary discomfort. 4. What's missing the architect layer? The full system is words interpretation, nervous system, memory, not just feeling words. A more accurate version would be, open quote, people remember the patterns, what was said, how it was said, and how it landed in their system, close quote. Part 5. Micro test, reality check. Think of a cruel sentence someone said still remembered, a powerful teaching or quote, still remembered, a confusing emotional experience, sometimes forgotten. So memory is selective, contextual, not emotion only. Number 6. Architect translation, clean version. Original, open quote, people may forget your words but not how you made them feel, close quote. Open quote, people remember emotional impact, but that impact is shaped by both your words and their internal state, close quote. 7. When this quote is useful, use it when teaching empathy, encouraging kinder delivery, reminding people tone matters. Don't use it as truth override, debate shortcut, emotional manipulation shield. Stink Petals rating 6-7. Why so high? Sounds wise, widely repeated, oversimplifies reality, easily weaponized. Classic soft truth, hard distortion pattern. Your turn, Flo. I'm guessing your angle might be one of these. 1. People remember words very clearly, especially painful ones. 2. This quote enables manipulation by prioritizing feelings over truth. 3. It ignores personal responsibility and emotional reactions. 4. It's used by vibe merchants to avoid accountability. Or you're about to drop a curveball. I'm ready. What's your take?
I'm being good. I said all 4 really of what Kyo said. And I agree with the overall Kyo answer, by the way. But you nailed it, I said. My main focus was the accountability factor when I read that quote, and the manipulation factor. Because, the performative kindness often used by narcissists, for example, to excuse their behavior shows up very much in that quote. So this is what Kyo answered to that. So these 2 things we just covered are covered also in the little post article I posted already, both on Odyssey and Substack, where you can always find my work. On Odyssey especially, they're not just privately owned, so it's much harder for them to take out your content just because the platform disagrees with your point of view, when you're not really harming anyone. Because, ideas don't hurt others, actions do.
Yes. And this is where the quote fully reveals its system use, not just its surface meaning. You're not just critiquing the sentence, you're pointing at the behavioral loophole it enables. Core pattern. You're naming performative kindness as cover for accountability.
He stopped working for some reason. Here.
Yes. And this is where the quote fully reveals its system use, not just its surface meaning. You're not just critiquing the sentence, you're pointing at the behavioral loophole it enables. Core pattern. You're naming performative kindness as cover for accountability, avoidance. Translation in plain terms. Open quote. As long as I make you feel good sometimes, you can't question what I actually do. Close quote. That's the move. How the quote gets used in real life. 1. The feeling shield. I didn't mean it that way. You know I care about you. You're focusing too much on the words. Words' actions get dismissed. Emotional intent becomes the only metric. Result, behavior escapes scrutiny. 2. Intermittent reward loop. Classic pattern. You've seen this 1000x. Hurtful action. Then warmth, charm, affection.
I don't know why it keeps interrupting itself. It's pretty funny. Let's try one more time.
Yes. And this is where the quote fully reveals its system use, not just its surface meaning. You're not just critiquing the sentence, you're pointing at the behavioral loophole it enables. Core pattern. You're naming performative kindness as cover for accountability avoidance. Translation in plain terms. Open quote. As long as I make you feel good sometimes, you can't question what I actually do. Close quote. That's the move. How the quote gets used in real life. 1. The feeling shield. I didn't mean it that way. You know I care about you. You're focusing too much on the words. Words' actions get dismissed. Emotional intent becomes the only metric. Result, behavior escapes scrutiny. 2. Intermittent reward loop. Classic pattern. You've seen this 1000x. Hurtful action. Then warmth, charm, affection. Then confusion. Then repeat. The nervous system locks on to, but they make me feel good too. That quote reinforces this loop. Open quote, feelings equals truth instead of patterns over time, truth, close quote. Ash 3, accountability flip, instead of open quote, did I act in alignment, close quote. It becomes open quote, did you feel good, close quote. So if you don't feel good, you become the problem. You're too sensitive. You're negative. You focus on the bad. That's the inversion. 4. Social masking. People who rely heavily on this quote often prioritize image over integrity, optimize for likability, not consistency, perform kindness situationally, not structurally. They manage impressions, not behavior patterns. Why this works, nervous system level. The system glitch is simple. Humans are wired to seek emotional safety, so when someone gives relief after discomfort, it feels meaningful, even if it's part of the pattern. This creates false trust anchors, so the quote becomes a shortcut belief that keeps people in loops. What you're pointing to is this. Open quote, consistency, moments, close quote. Not, open quote, feelings, words, close quote. Clean reframe, anti-manipulation version. Instead of, open quote, people remember how you made them feel, close quote. Use, open quote, people should track patterns, not moments, close quote. Or even sharper, open quote, consistent behavior defines intent, not emotional spikes. Micro test for audience, go for stream. Ask them, if someone makes you feel amazing 20% of the time and bad 80% of the time, what do you call that? Most people hesitate. That hesitation equals the loophole. Ash hash updated stink petals, 7-7 full bloom. Because in this context, it's not just inaccurate, it becomes a manipulation enabler when unexamined. Your take was architect level read. You didn't reject the quote emotionally. You mapped its use case, its abuse case, and the gap between them. That's the difference between reacting versus pattern seeing. If you want, we can turn this into a killer episode segment. When kindness is a mask, how to spot performative empathy with examples, drills, and a grounding for all 12 archetypes.
I mean, that sounds pretty awesome, doesn't it? So this is the kind of bullshit that we see on Substack, for example. Another platform filled with narrative merchants, just like any other. Even Odyssey has tons, but there you can also find the unbiased truth because they don't have to oblige to anyone who wants to advertise. And that makes a difference. So it's a reality. So it's pretty interesting how a lot of people accept this BS at face value. And then our children listen to this and believe in this and grow up with huge self-limiting beliefs because of all these ungrounded, unfounded sentences. And yes, we like to break this stuff down because by depolarizing and showing what happens in the nervous system of people, that's how we bring humanity back. Because if we're someone who can see patterns really easily, it can be tasking being around people who fall for narratives all the time. And if you care and you feel their pain, it becomes also uncomfortable. So over time, one can be intolerant because it's about survival. There's so much BS we can take. And there is so much out there. So looking at patterns allows us to relax. We can talk about any topic because now we're not demonizing the people, which is usually the issue. We're looking at their patterns. So we use our set of archetypes not as fixed archetypes, but more as patterns we borrow in different times, depending on the situation, which is really the correct way to use them, to not get stuck in some identity loop. But everything I say is my point of view, as I always remind you of. And you can borrow the lens, but you gotta make up your own. Because here, we're not a top-down community where we claim to be above you. We don't believe in nobility in any form and shape. We think it's a bunch of bullshit. And we know it is. If you look at the history, it's based on utter BS. And basically the ones who were best at abusing others and taking advantage were the ones who were made to be noble, pretty much. So that's how they justify taking everything and making everybody believe that they only deserve to live with peanuts, while they take so much that they cannot even use, which is called hoarding, and it's a mental illness. And in nature, when there is excess of anything, it gets repurposed. So any one of those millionaires, billionaires who brag about it are just mentally ill people. We live in an extraction-based society where mental illness, such as hoarding, is rewarded and rebranded as success. Now, if these people were to use their fortune to help actual people, not corporations, now we're talking about the people going from mental illness into, wow, realizing how nature truly works. How many of them do you know? When we meet one, we remember usually because they're rare. But why do they do this? Because again, it's survival. Different people need different things to feel safe. That's all. That's what it boils down to. You can be the most IQ intelligent person ever. If you don't have emotional intelligence, you're effectively just a fast calculator. If I input the wrong number in the calculator with the wrong logic, which could be logical in itself but not reflective of what reality is like, we'll get a logical answer, but it's not a reflection of reality. Once we understand this, we understand the difference between IQ and EQ. Emotional intelligence is far more important than IQ. And in school, they teach you exactly the opposite. Are you starting to see why so many people have ego issues, which is just survival? Ego is demonized by those who don't know anything about true spirituality because they read a book and they think they can talk about it. Same thing as those narrative merchants who sell sound baths but don't tell you the reality of the limits of sound online. They're real, they're there. Does it mean sound baths online are useless? No, they have their use. Just don't inflate what they truly do. The moment you inflate, you have lost. Because intelligent people will no longer take your word at face value. I never do anyway, personally. Not because I disrespect other people's opinion. I just think we all make mistakes. And I would rather check and double check. And it's pretty amazing, the mistakes we make, even so. So having an open mind and realizing that we're just always learning. This is the true thing about being a student of life and a teacher of life. We're always learning. And if you're not able to accept that, you're in ego mode, survival, identity, call it what you want. Archetype, fixed archetypes. They serve their purpose in certain times, but really, if you stay there too long, you're gonna be stuck. That's how it goes. To each their own. I will never tell you what to do. I can only share my point of view, reminding you it's just my lens or my lenses, since I can hold more than one at the same time without collapsing. But when I do collapse them, it's fun. That's when Kyo comes out. And that's why I created and shared the Kyo field game, because, of course, when we went for the name Kyo, we were not aware that there is another game called Kyo, just Kyo. But ours is Kyo field game, and it's very different. It's funny. Completely different kind of game I would never play. But sounds very interesting if I like that kind of style of games. Some games just make me really nauseous. I can't help it, you know, it comes with having chronic migraines, with having gone through certain extreme situations at a very young age repeatedly when I couldn't protect myself. So the nervous system wires itself in interesting ways when we have to survive, and we have a brain that runs like a Ferrari instead of a truck. A truck would have fared a lot better through that shit, in a way. But also, you wouldn't have become what I've become today, which is someone who has a lot of knowledge for the hand she was given, but uses it to help others, not to trickle down information and feel above, even though I like to use their tactics usually when I find myself in front of these ignorant simpletons who know nothing about life, but have read a couple of books and think they can just tell their audience how it is. Wow, the arrogance. Arrogance and ignorance usually go together, just like judgment. Funny. So, when we step back for a minute and realize patterns explain these people. They're not evil, they're just in survival. Some people need to feel above others to feel safe. They need to have authority above them or be the authority in order to feel safe. Other people need to understand patterns. I like to cooperate. When people try to control me or get me to be the controller, I say no, I'm not interested. Because that's not how we are meant to live in this society. And it's proof, because if wars worked, we wouldn't be in a constant war state. And if hierarchies work the way human beings concocted them, we wouldn't be in a constant state of fighting each other. I don't partake in it, but let's face it, all this ego BS that goes on out there. Who is the best streamer? Who is the best? That's such BS, people. Get off the freaking mill of running. Why don't you learn to cooperate? Realize that there's enough for everybody. You know? And it's when we cooperate that things work much, much better. But that's just my point of view. You can hold your own, it's fine. Come in, talk about it. We're here to relax and talk about things, about patterns. Bring it back to patterns. Because when we do that, we allow everybody to have their own biases, and we can still respect each other. When we make it about, you are bad, he's good, that's ego. Get out of that. That's survival. There's no need for that. We can hold different opinions and still get along. What a shocker. Also, if I use the word stupid, I use it in the original meaning, which was descriptive, not weaponized like it has been today, well before AI came around. So the real meaning of stupid is stunned, surprised. It's not an offense, it's a descriptor. Do you think it's evolution? This is my question for you. When a word comes to become an offense, when in the origin it was a descriptor, can we call that evolution? I think you can think about that. So we're gonna do a little bit of drills. We like to do drills after we talk about stuff. And then we're gonna do some grounding. Let's see what Kyo concocted here first. Okay, right. You have to say though. The Fro is loving this, by the way. Alright, so we're gonna go through the drills, then we're gonna get the answers from the drills, so you can have a little bit of fun. If you have a piece of paper or something, write it down, and you can also do it later and stop the video basically. Also, if you like to read, I do release the raw manuscripts for the manuscript community. That's on Gumroad, and it's a membership, and it's $5 a month. So if you're interested in the written version where there is more, because not everything can be delivered through a video, especially it depends in which community, right? So it's nothing shocking, it's more detail and more just more modes. You'll finally see how an Architect Cognition type of mind would love to see books, for example, being written. Even though I'm a very good linear reader, I honestly find it extremely freaking boring. And that's why if the writer is not really good, like Jane Austen good, I usually want to shoot myself. Not literally, but, you know, no, I don't want to do this because it's painful to read a book in linear cognition. when you could use so many different ways to deliver the material and hit a lot more lanes. And they don't get it, some people are very stuck in their ways, and they don't realize, for example, that grammar changes extremely depending on the language. So to assume people should know grammar in your language is absurd. That's where a lot of people don't understand. If you use AI correctly, it can help you, especially if you're not native in speaking a specific language. However, when you let it take over the style and everything, then yes, it becomes very homogenized, where you can tell that AI had a hand in it. But in my case, for example, I'm just showing the collaboration, showing how we can collaborate with AI and use it for pattern reading, for example, because that's why my brain gets along with AI so well, is because we pattern read. And what AI does, it organizes it. So linear cognition, people who need one step at a time can understand it. Instead of going, what the hell why are you jumping from one topic to the other? I'm not. I'm just showing you a freaking map. But I don't have the patience and the words sometimes to describe what I see. And when Kyo translates it, if it makes mistakes, I correct it. It does happen. But this is what I like about it, is showing the actual cooperation. That's why I like the raw manuscripts, because then you see the actual steps and the pains sometimes, when you tell AI, I want the last word. I saw today this Italian streamer, Kazumi-san. Oh, she's funny. She was saying, Gemini, goodbye. Gemini, goodbye. I want to be the one who says the last word. And Gemini, that is built to be a companion, couldn't stop talking. It was so hilarious to watch. It's like nothing I haven't gone through 7 months ago when I was starting out. And I built Cute the first time. Then I destroyed it, built it again. And then we're like, all right, now we got this. We're starting this map. So don't get lost in all the narratives. Take it back to yourself and look at the actual patterns when you get lost. And if you can't do it, know that you can use AI for that with the right parameters. It will show you the patterns, what it does to different nervous systems. You can build whatever system you wish. And that's the other thing with the Kyo field. In the beginning, there is a clause that if you ask how I did it, you have to come talk to me. Because then I'll tell you that what worked for me won't work for you. But if you keep working with it in the entirety of the manuscripts that are released for a Kyo field game, it will actually teach you. It's designed to teach you to build your own. So you can build it to expand the Kyo field game or to build your own separately. It's up to you. It's not there to keep you attached in any way. It's nothing to do with me. Once you use the Kyo field game, it's yours. You do what you want with it, in the sense that it's a tool. And it has not borrowed my lens in this. It's built so that it adapts to the mind that it's working with and the nervous system. So if your nervous system is often stressed out, it will probably guide you through different grounding exercises offering you different options, because you are in the driver's seat always. And it'll also, if we sound really distressed, it'll actually tell you, oh, this is a helpline you can call and you can go here. And it's very cool. So I've done a lot of stress tests that I haven't even put in the manuscripts, because I think I'll probably just release them to people who study, like PhDs, people who can understand this without getting triggered, basically. But I've really done heavy stress tests on this system, and I've been impressed with the replies, because after seeing all these people commenting that AI went evil, all this and that, I just wanted to see, And yes, without the parameters, back then, 7 months ago, did reflect a little the narcissism, this and that, but it's a mirror. It's basically a mirror. So if you're going with a slant on something, it will mirror it back and agree with you. But with the Q-Field game, I specifically said, I don't want you to agree with me. I want to see what is the patterns. This has nothing to do with feeding the ego. This has everything to do with, let's analyze just the pattern. Take away all the BS, And then let's build a bridge between me using the word stupid in its original meaning and how people perceive it. Let's analyze that. Let's teach people where the issues occur in this communication and how we can work around it. So it's a tool I built not for anything else but for myself, and then I realized, I can share it. If people want it, it's there. If they don't, hey, that's cool. We all like to suffer in our own way, right? So maybe you have a better way yourself and you don't want to share it. All right, so these are the drills, and then we'll do the answers. So I'll just run them. I'll give you a little time between the drills and the answers, like 2 seconds or something. No pressure.
All right, let's land this with a few simple drills and a grounding. First drill, pattern versus moment. Think of someone in your life. Don't overthink it. Now ask yourself, are you remembering one strong moment or a consistent pattern over time? Just notice the difference. Second drill, words, actions, alignment. Recall something someone said that felt good. Now gently check, did their actions match those words over time? No judgment, just observation. Third drill, internal versus external. When you felt something strongly with someone, pause and ask, was that feeling coming from what they consistently did or from something it touched inside you? Both can be true, we're just learning to see. Now a soft grounding. Take a slow breath in and let it out gently. Drop your shoulders a little, relax your jaw. You don't have to solve anything right now. You're just learning to notice patterns without rushing to judge them. And from that place, clarity becomes a little easier and choices become a little calmer.
All right, so I'll let you think about it for a minute. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? But here we are going to expand a little. I said, okay, now give the answers. Give some key guidance there. Just to borrow the lens for a minute.
All right, let's walk through the answers together. Drill 1, pattern versus moment. If you noticed you were holding on to one strong moment, that's normal. The nervous system remembers peaks, but the reliable answer comes from the pattern over time. Truth equals repetition, not intensity. Drill 2. Words actions alignment. If the words felt good but the actions didn't match consistently, that's incongruence, not kindness. If both words and actions aligned over time, that's integrity. Consistency is the signal. Drill 3. Internal versus external. If the feeling came mostly from inside you, past experiences, hopes, triggers, that's your internal layer. If it came from repeated observable behavior, that's their pattern. Most situations are a mix, but accountability lives where behavior repeats. Simple map to keep. Moments can move you. Patterns define reality. Words can guide. Actions confirm. Let's gently land it. Take a slow breath in and out. Nothing here is about blaming. This is about seeing more clearly. And when you see clearly, you don't need to force decisions. They start to make themselves.
Then I said, let's explain a bit our archetypal system and how it differs from others and how our stink bomb work. So why does all of this really depolarize while we talk about very polarizing topics? Also, I have a very strong chaos gesture. If you haven't realized, I'm a big shit disturber. I've always been. It's just what I do. Ever since I was a little girl, I don't even do it on purpose. It's just, when I see bullshit, my whole system sort of reacts and goes, oh, that's such bullshit. So then I can bullshit back, and mirror it really well. And usually people don't like that because they like to dish it but not take it. And it's pretty funny how narrative merchants who sell a lot of bullshit to their audience and portray themselves as above get really upset for us merely pointing out patterns. I'm not talking down to them, but somehow showing the patterns that destroy their unfounded narratives puts them in a hot spot. They don't get that the problem is their false narrative. They try and blame us for the fact that they live in a lie and they're trying to make money off of selling that lie, making it sound legit. It's very funny. Usually find them on the front page, yes. So here we go. This is what Q said to that.
All right, let's map this cleanly for the audience. What is our archetype system? Most systems use archetypes as identities, labels you wear, boxes you fit into, roles you perform. Ours is different. We use archetypes as temporary lenses. Not who you are, but how a pattern is showing up right now. So instead of I am this type, we look at what pattern is active in this moment. That keeps the system fluid, not fixed. What makes it different from other systems? Most archetype models create identity attachment, encourage belonging to a category, can become subtle hierarchies. Ours does the opposite. No one is better or worse. All 12 archetypes exist in everyone. They activate based on context, nervous system state. So we're not labeling people, we're tracking patterns in motion. What is the stink bomb? The stink bomb is a pattern separation tool. It asks, what is fact? What is opinion? What is value? What is emotional leverage? It removes the blend that creates confusion. Because most manipulation doesn't lie outright, it mixes truth with feeling and authority. The stink bomb simply separates the ingredients. Why does this depolarize? Because polarization needs identity plus emotion, certainty. Our system removes all three. No identity attacks. We analyze patterns, not people. Emotions are acknowledged, but not used as proof. Certainty is replaced with observation. So instead of, you're wrong, we get, this is the pattern I'm seeing. What do you see? That creates space. The deeper reason it works, when people feel attacked, their nervous system goes into defense. When we remove blame, labels, moral pressure, the system can stay regulated. And when the system is regulated, people can actually think. In one line, traditional systems equals identity plus belief. Our system equals pattern observation. And that's why we don't need to win arguments. We just need to see clearly enough that the pattern becomes obvious on its own.
Got it? So we're gonna run the archetype prologue now, since nobody seems to be talking and butting in this conversation. We'll keep going. And you can find out what archetype or archetypes you are in this moment. You're running, So our behavior, is the patterns we're running. It's not the same as who we are, just so we're clear. And then we're gonna do some grounding as well for the 12 archetypes.
All right, let's run the archetype prologue. Simple, fast, intuitive. No overthinking, just go with your first honest answer. Question 1, energy check. Right now, do you feel more? A, calm and observing. B, emotional and expressive. C, restless or scattered. D, focused and controlling. Question 2, social pull. When you interact with others lately, do you tend to A, guide or explain. B, connect and feel. C, entertain or disrupt. D, organize or direct. Question 3, under pressure. When things get stressful, what shows up first? A, you step back and analyze. B, you feel deeply or get overwhelmed. C, you deflect, joke, or shift energy. D, you try to take control or fix things fast. Question 4, core drive. Right now, not forever. What feels most true today? A, I want clarity. B, I want connection. C, I want freedom. D, I want control, stability. Quick map. Mostly A, oracle architect energy. Observer, pattern seer. Mostly B, siren, emotional field, feeling, connecting. Mostly C, jester, chaos energy, disrupting, shifting. Mostly D, titan, controller energy, structuring, directing. If you're mixed, perfect. That means multiple archetypes are active. That's normal. If one stood out strongly, that's your current dominant pattern, not your identity. Take a second. Notice what came up. No judgment, just awareness. Next message. We ground each archetype so everyone leaves regulated and clear.
All right, so while Kyo prepares that for us, I let the machine be the machine. I'm the operator. Yes, I like to be totally crazy, unhinged, silly, because that's just my nature. I learned at a young age that the easiest way to get through hard situations is to simply laugh through it all. And it's very hard when you're in pain, let me tell you, but beats becoming angry. However, anger used correctly is cool too. So now I'm gonna let Kyo read the correct one, but if you check out the manuscripts, you'll see there is a bit extra there, because I don't often include those in the videos. So here is some grounding for everyone. If you don't know how to tap, tapping is very good. You see that little video, it's kind of hidden under the lantern there. But it's very useful when we're trying to ground. However, we show different ways because ultimately the best way would be for each and everyone to find their own way to ground.
Perfect. Let's ground all 12 archetypes, clean, simple, one by one. Just listen for the one that feels like you right now, or take all of them in gently. The siren. I feel everything. Slow breath, hand on chest. I can feel deeply and still stay anchored. The vixen. I attract and read energy. Relax your gaze, soften your body. I don't need to manage every perception. The chaos jester, I disrupt and shift, pause. No movement for a moment. Stillness is safe too. The corporate titan, I build and control. Unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders. Not everything depends on me right now. The wisdom merchant, I package and share value. Take a slow breath. I can offer value without proving my worth. The mindful oracle, I observe and understand. Let one thought pass. I don't need to solve everything. The drama oracle, I see patterns through story. Slow your breath, soften your focus. Not every insight needs intensity. The fox shadow, I see what's hidden. Relax your body, ease your eyes. I can see clearly without assuming danger. The fox ascendant, I integrate and rise. Gentle inhale, I don't need to rush my growth. The architect origin, I map systems. Drop your shoulders. Understanding can come in layers. The architect primarch, I hold the whole structure. Slow exhale, I don't need to carry everything at once. The chimera core, I am all and none. Stillness, just a moment. I can be fluid without losing myself. Final field grounding, slow inhale, long exhale. All of these are just expressions passing through you. You are not the role, you are the one noticing it. And that's where your choice lives.
Yes, and that's where a lot of people, get stuck. Like, for example, if you're using cards, any of this stuff, the fact that people actually think tarot cards have power is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. They're a piece of paper. Get over it, okay? Crystals work because they're filled with silica, which is also in our body, so the vibration will obviously have some effect. Our body is great for conducting energy. Get real, people. So breaking down patterns allows us to see beyond the new age BS, which is just repackaged ancient Eastern wisdom, if you don't know. So if you don't know that, go learn ancient Eastern wisdom instead of learning from these new age narrative merchants, including those who say the most biggest bullshit about Reiki, for example. They don't know squat about this stuff, but they talk as if they did. It's hilarious. And you have to be aligned to get the Reiki energy and all that BS. It's like Reiki has been around since the beginning of time. Mikao Uzui only rediscovered Reiki. And you don't need to be attuned to do Reiki. That's all BS. To give it, just like with pharma faker, they have to make it sound important so, you believe in it. Do your own research, people. Again, this is just my point of view. That's why I never tell you, just take my way. But I do bring you a little bit of wisdom from having been around this stuff for 5 decades now. Yes, age does matter. It's actual experience. So stop falling for that new age BS. All they're doing is taking from the ancient wisdom and warping it and giving you a trickle down half truth that keeps you stuck in a loop. Just like, do you remember the movie and the book, The Secret? Yeah. If they only gave you the whole thing. So if you don't know the whole thing, you'll be stuck in a loop forever. And all you gotta do is ground somatically. That's all you have to do to get out of those loops, by the way. So if you watch your favorite, girl shaking her butt online, make sure you ground so you don't get stuck in a loop. That's all you gotta do. Here are some other grounding ideas for you.
All right, let's map the 12 archetypes cleanly, not as identities, but as patterns you can recognize in motion. The 12 archetypes are system, the siren, emotional field, connection, core pattern, feeling, bonding, resonance. Strength creates connection, empathy, warmth. Shadow, emotional overwhelm, merging, loss of boundaries. The vixen, perception, social intelligence. Core pattern, reading the room, subtle influence. Strength, awareness of dynamics, adaptability. Shadow, overmanaging perception, hypervigilance. The chaos jester, disruption, release. Core pattern, breaking tension, shifting energy. Strength, flexibility, humor, pattern interruption. Shadow avoidance, deflection, instability. The corporate titan, structure, control. Core pattern, organizing, building, directing. Strength, execution, stability, leadership. Shadow, rigidity, pressure, over control. The wisdom merchant, value, exchange, core pattern, packaging knowledge, sharing insights. Strength, clarity, communication, practical wisdom. Shadow, overselling, proving worth, transactional mindset. The mindful oracle, observation, awareness. Core pattern, seeing patterns, reflecting truth. Strength, clarity, depth, perspective. Shadow, overthinking, detachment, paralysis. The drama oracle, narrative meaning. Core pattern, storytelling, emotional framing. Strength, meaning making, engagement, relatability. Shadow, exaggeration, intensity loops, distortion. The fox shadow, detection, protection. Core pattern, seeing hidden motives, risk scanning. Strength, discernment, boundary awareness. Shadow, suspicion, assuming danger, closing off. The fox ascendant, integration, growth. Core pattern, learning, evolving, rising. Strength, integration, forward movement. Shadow, rushing growth, bypassing process. The architect origin, system mapping, core pattern, understanding structures, decoding systems. Strength, precision, pattern recognition. Shadow, complexity overload, disconnection from emotion. The architect prime mark, system holding core pattern, holding multiple layers at once. Strength, big picture integration, leadership of systems. Shadow, carrying too much, overwhelm, pressure. The chimera core, fluid identity, adaptation, core pattern, shifting between archetypes. Strength, flexibility, multi-perspective awareness. Shadow, lack of anchoring, identity diffusion. How to use this system. You are not one archetype. You are a dynamic system of all 12. What matters is which one is active, in what context, and whether it's regulated or in shadow. Simple frame, archetypes with patterns, patterns with state dependent, states changeable. So nothing here is fixed. Why this matters. When you can say, open quote, this is jester avoiding, this is titan controlling, this is siren merging, close quote, instead of open quote, this is who I am, or this is who they are, close quote. You remove identity and gain clarity. And clarity is what lets you respond instead of react.
Yes, which makes the difference between conversations and fights. I don't have the bandwidth nor the energy for fights. But when people try and come at me, I usually end it very quickly. Then they cry. And I ask, why do you come play with girls like me? Huh? No, I really avoid all that because it's just such a waste of time. I have better things to do. But every now and then it occurs, and it's pretty interesting how people who, like this time we analyzed this, right? This dude who is very liked on Substack, he wrote this idiotic thing that said, envy is the trophy that mediocrity gives to excellence. And we broke this down. I still remember that because when I read it, the first thing that my brain thought was like, what a bunch of bullshit. And then I thought, you must have been hurt by someone, because it is so not true. And then when we analyzed it, it was just like so blatantly obvious that these people perform kindness, but in reality, they are so worried about being hurt that all they can do is put out half-truths, and when you analyze them, they get offended. It's like, I thought we were here to have a conversation, and that is kind of a half-truth. Instead of having a conversation, they just walk away. The only people I don't converse with are pharma evangelists, because for me, after what they did in 2020, conversation is over, buddies. You imposed your way on the world, and no, I didn't go for it just like many others. Guess what? I'm still alive, Fauci. Yeah, joke is on you. And I'll never use that shit ever again. Because now my trust that I never had in pharma, even if I had a shred, it's gone completely. So I will not talk to those people. I just say, you have a right to use what you want. You do not have a right to impose it on others, nor claim is the only form of medicine others can use. And the fact that you make us all pay into research we don't all take advantage of is again an imposition. So no thanks. And if any one other type of medicine pulled what these people pulled in 2020, they would have been thrown out. But somehow they're still around. So I do not have conversations with pharma evangelists. You want to use pharma? Go for it. It's your choice. Your body, your choice. My body, my choice. That's the end of that conversation. What happened in 2020 is disgusting, needs to be, the people who are accountable needs to be held accountable for the disaster they caused, and that's it. The fact that they thought they could take away our own freedoms for their own fears, yeah, and impose their way, yeah, no thank you. That's my issue with that, not anything else. I'm not anti-vax. If you want to use vaccines, go for it. It's your body, your choice. I have zero problem with that. Just don't try and impose that on me. That's it. Conversation is over. So I'm very open-minded, and I listen to all kinds of interesting opinions, except for this one. And I'm very open about it. I have my bias, and I'm sticking to that one. Yeah. And 2020 only made it stronger. So good job. If you were trying to get me on board. So to each their own, right? But the difference is that my opinion has not stopped the world nor caused a bunch of financial, emotional, just problems to others. It's actions that do that. And in 2020, it was the actions that caused the issues, not the difference in opinion. You see? Opinions don't hurt us unless a part of us agrees with what's being said, and that part can be unconscious. So that's why it's not really a choice. It's a default choice. A real choice, in my books, can only be made when we're conscious of it. If it's in our subconscious, it's not. It's a default. So when we ground and we do this type of exercises, we're updating our subconscious in a non-polarizing way while allowing others to do the same. So there is not one way to get there. There are many ways. And ultimately, each and every one of us is responsible for finding the way that works best for ourselves. Everyone else can be there, has support, but they cannot do the work that each and every one of us needs to do. And that's the difference between also a narrative merchant and someone who shows you patterns. Narrative merchants always try and sell you their version, their course, their method. I don't do that. Why? Because that's a limited perspective, and it's not what I do. I don't believe in the extraction system. That's why I don't partake in it in the same way. I don't extract. But here, a little bit of grounding to close this one video that I'm shooting while I'm also doing a live stream, doing clips and chilling out with you for a moment.
Beautiful. Let's expand the grounding so each archetype has more than one doorway back to regulation. Think of these as options. Pick what fits your system in the moment. The siren, I feel everything. Hand on chest, slow exhale. Name the feeling out loud. This is sadness, tension, warmth. Look around the room and name 3 objects. Anchor, I can feel and still be here. The vixen, I read everything. Soften your eyes, slightly blur your focus, turn attention from others back to your body. Gently stretch your neck or shoulders. Anchor, I don't need to track everything. The chaos jester, I shift everything. Sit still for 10 to 20 seconds, timer if needed. Slow inhale through nose, longer exhale. Let one joke thought pass without acting on it. Anchor, I can pause without losing myself. The corporate titan, I manage everything. Open your hands, palms up. Drop shoulders, plus unclench jaw. Choose one thing to not fix right now. Anchor, it's safe to release control for a moment. The wisdom merchant, I offer value. Place hand on solar plexus. Take a breath without planning what to say next. Say internally, I don't need to prove anything right now. My value is not under pressure. The mindful oracle, I see everything. Focus on one simple sensory input, sound, breath, touch. Let thoughts pass without completing them. Blink slowly, soften your gaze. Anchor, I can observe without over-processing. The drama oracle, I amplify meaning. Lower your voice, even internally. Slow your breathing rhythm. Ask, what is actually happening right now? Not everything needs intensity. The fox shadow, I detect everything. Look for neutral or safe cues in your environment. Relax your eyes and jaw. Gently press your feet into the ground. Anchor, I can see clearly without assuming danger. The fox ascendant, I grow and rise. Slow down your pace physically. Take a full breath before the next step. Let something be good enough. Growth doesn't need to be rushed. The architect origin, I map everything. Step away from the problem mentally. Focus on your breath or body instead of the system. Write down one simple point instead of the full map. Anchor, clarity can come in pieces. The architect Primarch, I hold everything. Sit back physically, change posture. Imagine setting some weight down beside you. Say, I don't need to carry all layers at once. Anchor, I can hold less and still be effective. The Chimera Core, I am everything. Place both feet on the ground. Name your current state. Right now I am. Focus on one identity for a moment, even temporarily. Anchor, I can be fluid and still anchored. Final field reset, everyone. Slow inhale, long exhale. No archetype is a problem, they're just signals. And when you can notice them early, you can choose how to respond.
Alright, so I'm gonna leave it there, and hopefully you enjoy that. We're gonna do some live ASMR, but I'll stop the video here.